That's enough. Let us stand our feet. Hey! I still can do it. And I know He's working out for me. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's enough. We have guests in this house for the first time. And I am so happy, over-elated and honored that he would accept our invitation to be back home in Indiana at Temple of Praise. He was raised in Kokomo, Indiana, where he was the choir director at Bethel under Elder Rufus Mills. Serving Bishop Rufus Mills. And some of y'all don't know his history. I'll let him tell his own story. But Tavis can sing the song, I'm one of them today. And has always remained one of them today, even though the Lord has taken him to high places. He took God with him everywhere that he was able to go. The doors that God opened for him, he took God with him in those doors. And we thank God that he has maintained his character and his integrity. There's a whole lot I can say about him. I was so honored to be a guest in his home last year. Amen. We spent some time in his home. And I texted him and said, man, will you come and do our Black History service for us? He got back with us immediately. Amen. Some of these preachers I call, it takes a month, 2 months. Amen. You got to go through hoops and 10 secretaries. Amen. But Brother TAVIS Smiley, who is an icon amongst us, amen, amongst this nation, amen, got right back with me. He's here. He's low maintenance. He didn't tell me I had to have this, that, and the other. Amen. We're so grateful that he is here with us. And I know he's got something to say to us on the day. He's so humble. Amen. Put your hands together. And so many other things I could say, his degrees and all that, and how many things he's worked in, government and all that kind of stuff. But he's a humble man. He don't want to hear all that. He just wants to be called a servant of the Most High God. Put your hands together and welcome to this podium the one and the only television personality, nationally the brother of ours, Brother TAVIS Smiley. Come on, let's get started. Let's praise God. That's that wonderful name of
Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is he weary. There is no searching of his understanding. Giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might, he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles, and they shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Let me just say this right quick. I want to thank every one of you present for your prayers. The last 14 months have been the most difficult of my entire life. I've said so many times that I wouldn't wish this experience on my worst enemies. But I said 14 months ago, the day they lied on me, I came out that day, I said, this was seen around the world millions of times. I said, this was a sloppy investigation that led to a rush to judgment. I am going to fight this, and the Lord be my help. We're going to win this fight. That was 14 months ago. Everywhere I've gone since then, there's always somebody in the audience who they have hired to follow me around to hear what I say. So for you today, go back and tell them I said this and to the praise. When I was flying home on Friday, now I got to couch this. I'm under a court order because all of this is confidential. And I'm not supposed to speak out of school, and I'm not going to now. But all I can tell you, my Indiana family, is this. After 14 months of fighting this, they have tried everything they can to get out of this. And I've told them the devil is a lie. And I am not going to settle with you until you publicly apologize to me for the lie you told me. I'm going to publicly apologize. And two, you show enough, don't give me my money. Apologize, and there are millions of dollars that I have lost as a result of this. I was 38,000 feet flying home on Friday. When I landed, I turned my phone on My lawyers had reached out to me while I was in flight to tell me the phone call from PBS just came through. On the eve, I'm supposed to leave here to fly to Washington to start the depositions in this case. After 14 months of obfuscating and lying and delaying and stalling, 14 months, on the eve of depositions, they called and said, can we sit down and talk about resolving this? I told my lawyer, and I got to my mama's house. She was there, God be my witness, she was there. My lawyers talked to my mother. I told my lawyers, you tell them that if they ain't coming to the room to agree to a deal to publicly apologize to me and to give me my money, I will see them in court. That's simple. But I'm telling you what will happen is you wait. You gotta wait on it. You gotta wait on it. Whatever you're going through, just wait on it. Just wait on it. And that's all I can say about that. But I wanted just to tell you, thank you for your prayers. I appreciate it. I feel it. The Bible says the prayers of the righteous availeth much. And in my home in Los Angeles, I feel those prayers. And the devil has tried everything, but I say everything, I mean everything. In the last 14 months, I've been in 2 car accidents. I've been in the hospital, attacking my body. Lost millions of dollars in my finances, and he still won't stop. Last week, out of the blue, from nowhere, Brother Danny's here, he's my witness, he knows, because he called me to tell me, a truck just ran into my building. Jesus. My office building, ran into the building, through the wall, into my office. Not somebody else's office, into my office. The devil wanted me to know. Big old hole in the building, in the center of our building, a big hole with a truck lodged in my office, and somehow they were able to get out, and the police are chasing them to this day, trying to find who ran into my building. But everything, physically, mentally, psychologically, financially, the devil has been busy. But I'm here to tell you, if you wait on him, if you stand in your truth, stand in your truth, and just wait on him. I'm watching my time, let me start very quickly by saying thank you to my friends, the Bishop Donald and Barbara Golder. Thank you for this invitation. It means so much to me. When you go through a crisis like this, your friends disappear on you. Your everyday friends, your celebrity friends, they disappear on you. The invitations disappear. My God. And only those persons who believe in your innocence are bold enough to stand forward and say, we still want you to come to speak to our people. So we should honor you. And I can promise you this is all over, not because I'm perfect, but I hope that I have not squandered the trust that my home state of Indiana has placed in me. I thank you for that. So Bishop, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. This great assembly, Temple of Praise Assembly, thank you for having me. I know there's so many persons you can have speak on this day as we celebrate Black History Month. I want to talk about that in just a moment. After I mentioned this, it's already been mentioned a few times, my family. My father is the hardest working person I've ever known. And I've said so many places that if I can ever be half the man that my father is, I will be pleased that I've done something well. If I can be half the father, half the man rather, that my father is. Daddy, I love you, and I'm glad you're here today. It's hard to hold back the tears talking about your mama.
It's all right.
When her name is Joy Smiley.
Yeah.
Amen.
Because all through this process, every morning, 14 months, every morning, and every night, we pray together. Every day. Because the time change, I usually call her in the morning, oftentimes she calls me at night. But unless there's some extenuating circumstance, we prayed and have prayed for 14 months, every single morning, and every single night. I love you.
Amen.
I'm back. that you're here. To my brothers and sisters, you'd be here all day if I called all their names. I've got 9 brothers and sisters, 31 and counting, I think, nieces and nephews. And a bunch of them are here today. But to my siblings who I see, to Pam and to Phyllis, to Garney, Irvin, is anybody? And to my nieces and nephews who are again too numerous to mention, I love you all, and there ain't nothing y'all can do about that. I just love you. So thank you for being here today. To the Blackburns, Bishop Golder mentioned them. I become a member of the Blackburn family in part because my dearest and most abiding friend, their son, their eldest son, was my roommate at Indiana University. Roommates in college, and because of him, I got to know his family, and I miss so greatly his father, who was a great beacon of light and hope, Walter Blackburn, the brilliant architect. Right. Such a great example of how to achieve against all the odds. And so we miss Walter Scott Blackburn, and I'm honored today that his wife, for so many years, an icon in her own right, she's the recipient of the highest honor this state can bestow, Sacrament of Wabash. You know her as well, Alpha Blackburn. Thank you for being here with me. I thank you. And Sydney, and Todd, I thank you for being here. You mentioned, Bishop mentioned my assistant, Danny Davis. It means something to run a company every day, tons of people, television, radio, and all things, the books and all things that we do. It means something to have somebody with you who's Holy Ghost filled, who has been raised and experienced the same thing you have all in your life in PAW. I have one such person in my company. We've been together all these years, and it's in moments where I need to pray or get a word through, I can call him in my office, and we just close the door and have church right in my office. It's a good thing to have a brother, a saint, with you. He was raised in St. Louis and grew up all those years in the Livingstone Church of God. Bishop Philip Lee Scott, he's my assistant, he's Danny Davis. Danny, I love you, I'm glad you're here. I saw her walk in, and I could tell from the back of the church, I spent so much time with her, and I've loved her so dearly for so many years, and she taught me so much. When I saw her walk in the back, I could tell by her walk that was her. And Bishop Golder leaned over to me as I was leaning to him. We said her name at the same time. But I am so honored that the daughter of my pastor, Bishop Rufus C. Mills, is here. Jackie. Jackie, I love you. And I'm so honored to be here. Jackie Mills is here, and I appreciate that. Let me finally say that even though the key was the wrong key, I have lived my whole life hoping to just sing alongside the Hammond B3's best friend, Ezra. Ezra, I'm just honored to sing along with you. I should have brought that key down a little bit, but I think God still heard us. I think God still heard us. So I am so delighted to be in the same space as Ezra and his beautiful playing all the years. Jackie was I was the director, but Jackie ran everything and was our choir director, chief musician, and teacher. And just again, learned so much at her feet. I remember the first time I actually came to Indianapolis to Grace to hear the Bishop Choir. And they sang that song, Genesis, 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 in the beginning I was like, my Lord. I never heard a choir like the Bishop Choir. And there was Donnie, and there was Ezra, and all the others. And I just have such fond memories of Grace back in the day. I was telling Bishop Golder, I've been friends for so long, I was telling Bishop Golder earlier that one year I got stuck I was going to the PW convention in Atlanta one summer. And some of y'all know the Hope brothers, Eddie, Michael, Mark. Mark ended up driving, and I was in the car with Mark, and I don't know how at the last minute, Remus ends up in the car with us. And I was telling Donnie that I had never really heard at that moment of Daryl Coley. But after 10 hours in the car with Remus, that Negro played the same Daryl Coley song from Indianapolis all the way to Atlanta. And years later, when I met Daryl Coley, I told him that story. And I fell in love with Daryl Coley that day, thanks to Remus, but I was sick of that song for the rest of my life. But I have some fond memories of growing up here in Indiana, and I'm so delighted to see how the Lord has blessed you, Bishop Golder, and your work here at Temple of Praise. Now, There are two things I didn't want y'all to say when y'all left today, when you leave today. One, I didn't want you to say that Tavis can't speak and didn't even make us shout. So I thought we'd get that out the way first. That's what that was. Don't tell them Tavis didn't make you shout. The second thing I want you to say is that Tavis spoke this morning on a Sunday but didn't give us a scripture text as a companion to his talk.
The Lord use you.
I ask you to turn to the book of Romans. There's two scriptures. I want to start in Romans chapter 8, verses 24 through 31. Romans chapter 8, verses 24 through 31 is where we want to start. Romans 8, 24 through 31. It reads thusly. For we are saved by hope. But a hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then we do with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities. For we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searcheth the heart knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. We know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Now if you turn right quick to Romans chapter 4, same book, Romans chapter 4, just two verses there. Verses 17 and 18. Romans 4, 17 and 18. And it reads, as it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even God, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were, who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken, so shall thy seed be. The Lord have a blessing to the reading of his word. Please take your seats. I want to invite your attention back to that 18th verse. Who against hope believed in hope. Who against hope believed in hope. That sounds incongruent, but is that in your Bible?
It's in the Bible.
Who against hope believed in hope.
Yes, sir.
And so, I'm not going to preach because that's not my calling. I ain't been called to preach. I ain't been ordained to preach. I sure ain't been licensed to preach. But I do believe there's a word from the Lord this morning. And I want to talk from the subject, prisoners of hope. Prisoners of hope. What does it mean to be a prisoner of hope? I want then to interrogate three questions in that process. There are three interrogatories, if you will, that I want to explore today.
Talk, sir.
Under the banner, prisoners of hope. The first question I want us to wrestle with today is, how do a people, we're here to celebrate Black History Month, right?
Right.
So question number one is, how do a people survive when their vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber their possibilities. We're talking about our people this morning, right? How is it that our people survive when their vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber their possibilities? The second interrogatory is, how do a people against hope believe in hope? How do a people whose vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber their possibilities, how do they even survive? And secondly, how do a people against hope believe in hope? Third interrogatory is, where do a people go? What do a people do when their hope needs help? Where do you go? What do you do when your hope needs help? Keep those three questions in mind as we move through today. How do you survive when your vulnerabilities outnumber your possibilities? How do people against hope believe in hope? And where do a people go when their hope needs help? As a child growing up here in Indiana, I was perplexed always, from as early as I can remember, growing up in the Tabernacle and in that house with those 9 brothers and sisters and my mother, my father, and Big Mom. And I remember as a child even watching Roots when that series came on in the 70s, over those nights when we were all snowed in here in Indiana because of that blizzard. We couldn't go nowhere. And Roots ended up having record ratings because nobody in the country on this side at least could go anywhere. So the ratings were huge for this series called Roots, and that gave me another understanding of our past. And I remember as a kid reading the speeches of Dr. King, and I was on the speech team in high school, and my speeches were always were oratories based on the writings and the works of Dr. King. And so I'm channeling King as a child growing up here in Indiana. I'm watching Roots growing up here in Indiana. I'm watching the news growing up here in Indiana. And I'm paying attention to current events growing up here in Indiana. And I am forever perplexed by this notion that my people seem to always be the people whose very humanity is being contested. Why is it that my people always seem to be the ones whose very humanity, whose very existence is being contested? Now, I wrestled with that thing as a child. I wrestled with it. With all due respect to the black church, and certainly all due respect to the Pentecostal church, and even more respect to PAW, that was a question that we weren't going to tackle with Judy Whitfield in Sunday school. Sister Hubert couldn't do nothing with that in Sunday school. And I didn't know where to go to get some understanding about this question that was literally vexing my spirit. Why is it that my people, always the ones who are underfoot, always the ones struggling, always the ones sacrificing, always the ones whose humanity is being contested, why my people, why do our vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber our possibilities? And when I couldn't find anybody else in my space as a child here in Indiana to help me wrestle with that interrogatory, to help me wrestle with that query, I started praying about that thing. That's all I need to do. I wanted to get an understanding of why it is that my people always seem to be the ones who are being put upon. Now, I know that many of us were raised as I was, and I know that when the saints told us this, they were well-intentioned. But I'm going to confess up front, I grew out of this. I grew out of this. And y'all forgive me if you're still there. But we were taught as children to never question God. Don't ever question God. I grew out of that thing. And to be very clear, I don't want to offend nobody. I understand that they were well-intentioned when they said that. In other words, don't you sass God. Don't you disbelieve God. Don't you not trust God. And that's why the scripture says, Lord, help our unbelief. I understand what they meant by that. Are you with me? But I grew out of that thing of not questioning God when I got to know Him for myself. When I got to read the Word, understand it for myself. Don't tell me I can't question God. The whole book of Habakkuk is about that minor prophet questioning God. Moses questioned God. And can I take it to the? Can I take it there? I think my Bible says that when Jesus was in the garden himself, Jesus himself Said what? Father, if it be possible, please let this cup pass from me. Then he was hanging, he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Yes, sir.
That's the question, ain't it? That's what they taught me here in Indiana growing up in school. Why is the start of a question. Why hast thou forsaken me? And so I grew out of that thing that we can't question God. And so I started questioning God about why it is my people are always the ones who seem to be wrestling with these vulnerabilities that outnumber their possibilities. So I started looking to God for insight. And I can just tell you this morning, Temple of Praise, God can handle your questions. Whatever questions you have, God can handle them. Don't be afraid to have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about your troubles. He'll hear your faintest cry. He'll answer by and by. Don't be afraid to have a little talk with Jesus. And so I started wrestling with this question of why our people are always the ones whose humanity is being contested. Let me take this further. You do recognize that slavery, by any other definition, was a contestation of our humanity. They were contesting our very humanity with the advent of slavery. Jim Crow, Jane Crow, is a contestation of our humanity. When we say Black Lives Matter, and they respond that Blue Lives Matter, we know that with God, all lives matter. But the very notion behind the mess, the nonsense that makes us utter the phrase Black Lives Matter, that is born of somebody trying to contest our very humanity. Police brutality is a contestation of our humanity. Black men being shot down in the streets like dogs is a contestation of our humanity. The miseducation of our children, this achievement gap. Our kids are stuck in the dilapidated schools with the used books, missing pages. And teachers oftentimes who don't show up and don't have high expectations of them. Don't have a laptop or computer at every desk. Don't have appropriate books in the library. Our kids are stuck in those schools, and that, saints and friends, is a contestation of our very humanity. Are you seeing this? Income inequality, wealth inequality is a contestation of our humanity. Why is it that black folk are always at the top of the unemployment numbers? We're always unemployed. We're always underemployed. That is a contestation of our very humanity. Environmental racism. Why are we the ones who have to live next to the toxic waste sites and the dump sites? And our children are the ones who have asthma and all kinds of other illnesses, and the adults end up having cancer because we live too close in proximity to these environmental hazards. That is a contestation of our humanity. Unequal housing is a contestation of our humanity. We don't have the resources. They won't give us the access to the resources we need to buy homes. That is a contestation of our humanity. Gentrification is a contestation of our humanity. Bank redlining. You can't get the loan you want from the bank. I just mentioned a moment ago that building that I own, that I built from scratch, and Mrs. B helped me decorate and design. Built it from scratch, right smack dab in the middle of South Central. And if you ain't ever been to LA, you all heard about South Central. That's where my building is. I couldn't get a single bank in all of Los Angeles. I was a millionaire. I owned property. I owned all kind of stuff. I had money coming in, but I couldn't get a single bank to loan me $250,000. That's how cheap the building was in this horrible neighborhood. I was going to take it and fix it up, make it beautiful, and turn it from the eyesore that it was to something to be admired. I could not get a single bank in all of Los Angeles to give me a loan to buy that building, because the zip code was 90043 and not 90210. Some of y'all will get that. Some of y'all ask the kids. Because I wasn't in 90210, I couldn't get a bank to give me a loan to buy my building. So I talked to my accountants. I said, restructure my money. I'm going to buy this building. I'm going to call it out for Blackburn. We're going to fix it up, turn it into something beautiful. And no sooner had I done that, I went on television and the radio. And I called the name of every bank in this country that refused to give me a loan to purchase that building. And I kid you not, no sooner had I done that, there was a parade of white men coming down Crenshaw Boulevard to my office to offer me money at that point that I didn't need. I'd already done the thing that I needed to do. But my being denied a loan was a contestation of our very humanity. They refused to give me a loan in that neighborhood. That's the contestation of our humanity. Insurance redlining. So when I got in the building, my insurance is higher than my friends across town. Because I'm in the wrong zip code, the wrong neighborhood, the wrong area code. That is a contestation of our humanity. These health disparities that many of us die from unnecessarily. Everybody talks about healthcare, and when we got in the Obama era, at least to having a conversation about healthcare for all, we still ain't got to a conversation inside of healthcare about those disparities that still exist that kill us at higher rates than anybody else. And the health industry seems to care not a thing about it. You know why? Because that is a contestation of your humanity. All of these things represent a contestation of our very humanity. I'm a child now, growing up in Indiana. I don't know all of this detail, but I ain't stupid. I can see what's happening around me. Why is the humanity of my people always being challenged? Why? Why do our vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber our possibilities? Now, you know as well as I do that one of the primary reasons for that is very simply and very honestly white supremacy. Let's just call it what it is. White supremacy, for the most part, is the reason why that exists. What do we mean when we say white supremacy? For the young folk who hear that big term, what does white supremacy mean? All we mean when we say that is that this is a, how might I put this? It's a sick notion. A sick notion that white folk are better than black folk. For that matter, better than everybody else just because of the color of their skin. Because they're better, they think then that they should dominate society. And so for all these years, to this very day, we still find ourselves raging against a white supremacist system that is the enemy of black progress. We've dealt with it for hundreds of years. And now, in the era of your president, Donald Trump, we see an effort to turn back the clock to what they call the good old days. They say, yes, let's make America great again. And I always have one question about that. Again. Make America great again. Again. When was it ever great the first time? When they say they want to go back to the good old days, I'm like, let me be clear. Maybe I could have a conversation with you about what good old days you want to return to. But can you clue me in as to what time period? What time frame were the good old days that you're talking about that you want to go back to? Because I know you ain't talking about the 60s. And I know you ain't talking about the 50s. And I know you ain't talking about the 40s. And I know you ain't talking about Jim Crow. I know you ain't talking about Jane Crow. I know you ain't talking about segregation. I know you ain't talking about slavery. So what good old days do you want to go back to? So make America great again? I say again. But that's what we're up against right now. We see them determined. They took Malcolm's word and turned it on his head. They are determined by any means necessary to turn back the clock on all the progress that we have made. Let me push here. I see my time is getting away from me. What I'm trying to get to is why, that first question, why it is that our people, we celebrate Black History Month. But why is it? Why is it? First of all, why is it, how is it that we chose the shortest and the coldest month of the year to celebrate Black History anyway? I don't know how we got in February. Shortest and the coldest month. But when you celebrate our history, it causes you to pause for a second to consider how it is and why it is that our people are the ones whose vulnerabilities always seem to outnumber their possibilities. Are you with me?
Amen.
In short, why us? Why us? That's the question I was wrestling with, that I had a little talk with Jesus about even when I was just a child. Now, it occurred to me as I grew a little older that maybe I was asking the wrong question.
All right.
One of the things about growing older and growing wiser is you have to realize that you don't have all the answers.
That's right.
And the way that you're seeing things might not be the right way to approach it. You have to be open to other interrogatories, other points of view. And so as I grew older, I came to accept that maybe, just maybe, I'm looking at this question the wrong way. Maybe I'm asking the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't why us, but why not? Oh, y'all with me now? All right, stay with me. Maybe the question isn't why us, but why not us? Put another way, what if in God's divine plan, what if we are not being picked on, but rather we've been picked out? See what I'm going to? My preacher saying, my pastor says, stay with me, I'm going somewhere with this. Maybe we aren't being picked on. What if we were picked out?
Yes, sir.
Now, stay with me. If that is a legitimate question, that we have been picked out and not being picked on, the next question that begs then is, why would God, in his divine wisdom, pick out these people?
Well,
For what purpose were these people picked out? But I was thinking about this the other day. My mind went back to a sermon that I heard Bishop Donald Golder preach one time. And when I say he preached this sermon, he preached this thing. The sermon I heard him preach once was, "Can God recommend you?" His text was the book of Job. And I ain't got to say no more, do I? His sermon was, "Can God," you remember that, Doc? "Can God recommend you? Have you considered my servant Job?"
Come on now.
I want to imagine then that God said, have you considered these particular people? Have you considered these peculiar people? What about these folk? So maybe we weren't being picked on, but rather picked out. Hear him saying, what about these folk? These folk that Maya Angelou referenced by saying that we were stolen. This is Maya at Bill Clinton's inauguration, that wonderful poem on the Post of Morning. Maya says that we were stolen, bought, and sold into slavery, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. Maya puts it so beautifully, but hear those words again. These are the people that were picked out. The ones who were stolen, and then bought, and then sold into slavery, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. What about these people? These particular people, what about them? What about them? Maya Angelou so brilliantly lays out what it is that we had to go through just to arrive at this place. You do understand now that our country's founding documents, the Declaration, the Constitution, all of our founding documents, when they were written as pro-slavery documents.
Right.
We don't get to celebration just a second, y'all, but just stay with me now.
Go ahead.
The documents that are founding documents of this country were pro-slavery documents when they were written.
that's right.
When the documents were written, we were included in them as 3/5 of a person. You know this, right? That's what they thought of us.
Wow.
That we were 3/5 of a person, even in the founding documents of this country. And here we are all these years later, still fighting to try to make America a nation that is as good as its promise. All these years later, our country still not yet become a nation as good as its promise. Watch this. The promise of America is one thing, but the possibilities in America for everybody are something totally different. There's a huge gap between the promise of America and the possibilities in America for all of her people. And so that's why W.E. Du Bois, the brilliant intellectual, the first black noted intellectual of our people, asked that powerful question: would America have been America without her Negro people? I'm going to pause for a second, let you think about that just a second. Wrestle with that Du Boisian question. Would America have been America without her Negro people? We know the answer is a qualified no. I want to pick up on the theme that the mistress of ceremonies raised earlier today in this service. Think for just a second of what America would be like without the contributions of black folk. Just in your own mind, take black America out of the equation, and what are you left with? She made the point already. You ain't got no peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. All you got is a jelly sandwich. Because if George Washington Carver didn't come this way, you'd have no peanut butter to put with your jelly. She made the point that if a brother hadn't been a traffic light, your BMW would be hitting my Mercedes in the intersection. Because there'd be no traffic light hanging to guide us through the intersection. There'd be no blood plasma because Charles Drew hadn't come this way. Take black folk out of America. You ain't got no Ezra Butler because you ain't got no gospel music. You take black folk out of the equation. If you take Duke Ellington out, you ain't got jazz as the export we've given to the world. If you take black folk out of the equation, you ain't got no NBA. You take black folk out, you ain't got no NFL. You take black folk out, in a minute you didn't have no hockey. And I see black folk playing hockey now. But take black folk out of the equation. Take Thurgood Marshall off the Supreme Court. See what you're left with. Take black folk out of the equation, and the American experiment falls flat. It's just that simple. The American experiment falls flat if you take us out. My friend Cornel West puts it this way. He said, when you consider all that black folk have been through in this country, he said, it's a wonder that we never established a black Al-Qaeda. Think of all the things we've been through. And you tell me why we never established something called a black Al-Qaeda. Our own version of just taking people out. For all they've done to us. Why is there no black Al-Qaeda? And West makes the point that when black folk walk in the room, he says, I don't care where we walk. When we walk in a room, white folk ought to just give us a standing ovation when we walk in the room. Just stand up. When you see black folk walk in the room, just stand up. Give an ovation. Because we have learned to love this country in spite of, not because of. No, in spite of, not because of. So when I say that we perhaps were picked out and not just picked on, let me go back to that question of why. Why would we be picked out? Well, what is the assignment that God had for us when He picked us out? Because you can't tell me. The Bible says that God is no respecter of persons. And I believe that. But somebody has still got to explain to me. And these are questions that we don't like to wrestle with in the church. Why is it that our people, all the folk on the globe, we are the ones who century after century after century live in a society, live in a world where our vulnerabilities still outnumber our possibilities. Even post Barack Obama. Some of y'all got mad at me during the Obama era. Some of y'all are still mad at me post Obama. Because you didn't want to hear my commentary about Barack Obama. I voted for that Negro twice, just like you did. I voted for him. I love him. He's my brother. He's my friend. I supported him. He worked with my foundation for years before y'all ever heard of Barack Obama. I've known him for many, many years before the country ever heard of him. Then everybody thought I was mad at him, I was hating on him, I'm jealous of him because I'm critiquing him. No, that's my job. When I critiqued Bill Clinton, the first black president,
Amen.
When I jumped on Bill Clinton, Negroes didn't have nothing to say. And Bill Clinton did a whole lot of stuff I agreed with, a whole lot of stuff I didn't agree with. And every morning on Tom Joyner and every night on BT, I would go in on Bill Clinton. When he did stuff that he was wrong about. When he did stuff that was antithetical to the best interest of black people, I would chin check in love the president of these United States. When Barack Obama shows up, just because he's black, I can't say nothing about it. I can't raise no questions. I can't tell no truth. I can't challenge the president to do better by his own people. Because too many of us thought that just because we had a black man in the White House, all of our troubles will be over. And now you see what we have post Barack Obama. Some of y'all still mad. I want to make you mad one more time. But I'm saying it in love. Nobody wants to hear this. Yesterday, at my mama's house, my phone started beeping, and friends all around the country were sending me this article. Everybody in the country, all the intellectuals are talking about. Big article yesterday in the New York Times. Got everybody's attention. And the article was a critique of Barack Obama in the era of Donald Trump. Everybody's talking about this article written by this black intellectual. And all the stir and the fuss it kicked up yesterday and all weekend. And they're saying they have finally caught up with you. Everything that professor wrote in that article, stuff I said 18 years ago. And now people are finally starting to realize what I was trying to say 10 years ago. Here's the point. When you elect a so-called progressive to office, watch this, and that progressive doesn't really behave like a progressive, what happens is you open the door to a charlatan like Donald Trump.
Oh, my God.
Who then comes and tells people, that didn't work out for you. But I'm the one who can save you. I'm the one who can fix this situation. Now think about the lunacy of this. Think about this. Donald Trump's, the strongest core of his base were white, uneducated Americans. Y'all missed that. The strongest core of his base were white, uneducated, poor fellow citizens. How is it that you let a billionaire who ain't never cared nothing about your station in life convince you that he was the answer to the prayer? How did you let him convince you of that? Because when we had a chance to advance policies that were more progressive, we didn't do it. He comes right behind, and sells you a bill of goods that he knows he can't deliver. Now we all up in arms about this fool, the president in the White House. Now we're all up in arms, but nobody apparently saw that coming. But this is what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do. And so here we are, trying to celebrate black history at a moment where even post Barack Obama, our vulnerabilities still massively outweigh our possibilities.
That's right.
Now, I don't know why y'all ain't as bothered by this as I am. I'm still struggling with why us. I know we're celebrating black history, but I want to interrogate why have we been stuck in this situation for all of these years. The only thing I can come to is that we ain't being picked on, we were picked out. Now, why were we picked out? I'm glad you asked that question. We were picked out, I believe, because we have been given an assignment in this country that nobody could complete but us. God gave us an assignment. That's why we were picked out, because it was an assignment that we had that nobody else could complete. What is that assignment? To teach America about love and service. Love and service. I've spoken so many times about this topic of love and service. And I want to tell you that what God gave us as an assignment, I believe, was to teach this country, to show this country what real love and real leadership looks like.
That's right, that's right.
My definition of leadership is simply this. I think of Donald Gold, or I think of this. I can't say it's about everybody, but I think of him when I think of him.
All right.
And this is the real test. I don't care what you read about leadership. I don't care what you watched on television. I don't care how many books you read, what seminars you've gone to. Trust me, I'm about to give you the best definition of what real leadership is you've ever heard in your life. With all the humility I can muster. It's the best definition of leadership you will ever hear. And it's simply this. You can't lead folk unless you love folk. And you can't save folk unless you serve folk. Hold on there. That's what leadership is. You can't lead folk unless you love folk. You can't save folk unless you serve folk. So the leadership then is ultimately about loving and serving people. I don't care what else you say. I was speaking somewhere not long ago and I told the audience, if you call yourself a leader and you look behind you and ain't nobody following you, you just out for a walk. You just out getting some exercise. The Bible says you will know a tree by the fruit that it bears. Mrs. B and I were talking about this just last night. What's that old adage that people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
That's right.
So that there's some signs to leadership. So I say that if you don't love folk, you can't lead folk. If you don't serve folk, you can't save folk. Our assignment is to show this country what real love and service looks like. Let me define that. Love simply means that everybody is worthy, everybody is equally worthy just because. It's that simple, y'all. Love means that everybody is worthy just because. When you think about Jesus, don't that work?
Amen.
The Lord says that all of us are worthy just because. Not because of your last name, not because of your pedigree, not because of how much money you make, where you live, what kind of car you drive, what neighborhood you hang out in, the folk you know, the access you have, the hookup you got. Everybody is worthy just because. Everybody is somebody's child. Everybody is somebody's kid. And we're all worthy just
That's right.
Can you imagine if America had ever gotten that message?
Wow, my Lord.
Are y'all with me?
Yeah.
If in this country, as we celebrate Black history, if we truly believe that everybody was worthy just because, that would mean that everybody would have access to equal high quality health care.
That's right.
If everybody's worthy just because, we all have access to a high quality education. If everybody's worthy just because, we all have a job making a living wage, not a minimum wage. If everybody, are y'all with me on this? If everybody's worthy just because, it fundamentally changes the American experiment as we know it. And we are the only folk in this country who learn to love this country in spite of and not because of.
That's right.
And the reason why, to answer Dr. West's question, the reason why we didn't establish no black Al-Qaeda is that ain't what love does.
Amen.
That is what love looks like. That's not what love looks like. And so, we've been picked out for a reason. Show this country how to love. We at our best, watch this now, at our best, what black folk have been, are now, and always will be, and I make no apologies for saying this, at our best, we are the conscience of this country. That's who we are. At our best, we're the conscience of this country. We teach America how to love. We teach America the value of what it means to serve. See, they get it confused. Serving and being subservient ain't the same thing. So they kept us in positions of subservience. Maids and nannies, and you know the story. But love and service is something totally different. Dr. King put it this way. Anybody can be great because anybody can serve.
Right.
All it takes is a heart full of grace and a soul that's generated by love. So our assignment is to be the conscience of this country. So, that first interrogatory, how is it that we have survived as long as we have when our vulnerabilities have always outnumbered our possibilities? How is it? How against hope, that's the second question, how against hope have we yet believed in hope? And here's the answer. We have been able to believe, that's the scripture text we read in Romans, right? How is it that we have believed in hope against hope? Because we black people understand the fundamental difference between optimism and hope. Optimism and hope are not the same thing. Can I convince you of this? Yeah. Optimism suggests, how about I put this? Optimism suggests that there's something that you can see, feel, or touch that gives you reason to believe that things are going to get better.
All right.
If ever you tell somebody, I'm optimistic, if you ever use that word, now I'm going to tell you up front, I am not an optimistic brother. That's not the street I live on. I'm not an optimist. I'll break that down in just a second. Because optimism and hope are two different things. Right. Optimism suggests that there's something you can see, feel, or touch that gives you reason to believe that things are going to get better. And because there's something you can see, feel, or touch that makes you believe that things are going to get better, you say, I'm optimistic. Can I tell you something? That ain't never been the black experiment in America.
That's right.
Think about it. We celebrate Black History right now. Can you ever tell me a time in our country's history where black folk ever had a reason based on what we could see, feel, or touch? We could then say, I'm optimistic about our future. That has never, in hundreds of years, we ain't never lived on Optimism Street. That is not where we reside. We've never had reason to say, I'm optimistic. Why? Because our vulnerabilities have always outnumbered our possibilities. So we've never been able to say, I'm optimistic. Thankfully, optimism and hope ain't the same thing. The Bible says that faith is the evidence of things. The faith is the hope is like the evidence of things not seen. Let's get it right now. Not seen. That's what hope is. Hope says that even when we don't see it, we believe it. Yes. Hope says even when there's no evidence, we're going to hold on to it anyway. Right. Hope says when there's nothing that makes us feel that things are going to get better, we believe anyway. That is how we can, against hope, still believe in hope. Yes, sir. You can't against hope believe in hope if you hold on to optimism. That's not where you live. But against hope, you can still believe in hope if you understand the distinction. Yeah. That third interrogatory I raised is, where do people go? What do people do when their vulnerabilities always outnumber their possibilities? What do people do when they're trying to believe in hope against hope? Thirdly, what do you do when your hope needs help? I don't care how hopeful you are. Because we're human and we're not divine, sometimes our hope needs a little help. Yes, sir. What do you do when your hope needs help? Where do you go? Who do you turn to? And I believe we go the same place that our ancestors have always gone where our hope needs some help. We go the same place Harriet Tubman went when her hope needed a little help. You know the story of Harriet Tubman? Harriet Tubman was, first of all, people never understand this. Harriet Tubman, get this now, was I'm 6'1". Harriet Tubman was 4 feet 6 inches tall. Can y'all see this? Wow. Harriet Tubman was 4 feet 6 inches tall. Y'all ain't seeing this. I see it. Shaquille O'Neal and the Greek freak Giannis and LeBron James and all these NBA stars. These Negroes were not the first ones to be born 7 feet tall. Y'all still ain't got this. Harriet Tubman was 4 feet 6 inches in stature, taking 6'5" black folk to freedom. 7 foot black folk to freedom. With a 4 feet 6 inch self. You see the courage in that woman? She went back 19 times to free our people. And she said, I could have freed more Negroes if they had known they were enslaved. Wow. Some of y'all gotta think about it. You catch that later. I could have freed more if they had even known that they were enslaved. Went back 19 times. Harriet Tubman did not go back 19 times because she was optimistic. That's right. There was nothing she could see, feel, or touch. They gave her a reason to believe that things were going to get better. But she went back 19 times anyway, because that's what love will make you do. When you love your people, she went back 19 times because she loved her people. And you know the story. Harriet Tubman only had two things everywhere she went. She had a little we call it a backpack nowadays. She had a little satchel on a stick, her little backpack. And in her backpack, she carried two things everywhere she went as she took these black folk to freedom. One of them was a Bible, and the other one was a gun. And everywhere that Harriet Tubman went, she had her gun and she had her Bible. And when these Negroes got scared, oh, Miss Tubman, they halfway there, they scared, some of them want to go back.